Hi there.
Hi, thanks for being here to
Thanks for
on
having us.
all right, our art responder series. It's always surprising and fabulous when the mute is not muted. Oh, hello. Someone has to follow something. There we go. Someone's calling in. I wonder if people who have perfect pitch if they can detect a phone number just by the sounds of the keys. I know I can't do it, but some people can play songs on the keys. Anyway, and that aside, welcome everybody to this Wednesday Art Responders Reimagine. Whitmer Thomas, Mr. Thomas, we call him Whit,
Hello.
uh, and he respects it most when you do too, from what I've learned. As some people call him
Just to
Thomas.
confuse, it's fun. It's confusing to have two last names. So I say Wit. Call me anything if you want. I really don't care. Just don't call me Tom or Thomas as my first name. You can call me literally anything, and I won't care.
I know what is that? Call me anything, just call me.
Yeah, exactly. That sums my entire life up.
So let's see. We're gonna get going, and are very much looking forward to a meaningful and fun show. I have to say. Um, my name is Brad. I'm the executive director and founder of Reimagine, and we are here with Art Responders. As you know, this show is about how people use and can use, how we can all use our creative expression, our own voice to respond to the world around us, um, given all that's swirling. Reimagine, we focus as an organization on death, dying, and grief, and how we can live our lives fully by facing those challenging topics, and find that art and expression are and creating something, transmuting those feelings into some type of creative action can be very profound and healing for both the creator and all of those who get the privilege of listening or witnessing your creativity. But really, the fact that you're on, it's more about that journey of creation than it is about the output. Um, and here we have some models for us. Today we have Whit Thomas, who we'll introduce soon. I want to share a big thank you to our festival sponsors. And as you all know, this event is part of Reimagine Life, Loss, and Love, a festival that is taking place right now. We've had about 600 events over the last, really since coronavirus began, to hold spaces to discuss and confront and these very challenging things that we're facing as a world. So thank you to our sponsors for making this all possible. Thank you to you out there who have been donating to support these efforts to make events like this free. It's really a beautiful gift to this community and to be able to make that happen. So thank you so much. I also want to thank our partner CTAC. This series is co-presented by CTAC. They are the Coalition to Transform Advanced Care, a nonprofit, nonpartisan advocacy organization dedicated to the ideal that all Americans with advanced illness receive comprehensive, high quality, person and family centered care consistent with their goals and values, and that really honors the dignity of each of our lives and the differences between each of us and our own visions for our own care and our own values. So thank you to CTAC. Now, I want to make sure everyone's acclimated to Zoom. In this session, we're going to stay muted, uh, except for one lucky person who's going to get to read the intention in a second. But if you have a question during the meeting, please share it in the chat. The chat is located at the bottom of your screen. There's a button that says chat. If you click on that and then send a message, we'll be able to ask Whit some questions coming from you. And if you have any technical questions, you can ask us there as well, and someone from the Reimagine staff can support you. And if you can keep your cameras on, that's always lovely because you have incredible faces out there. And that is that. Now, I would love to take a volunteer if I see somebody out there, if you want to raise your hand, or if you want to put in the chat, rather, maybe someone who wants to volunteer to read today's intention. Do we have any volunteers out there? If you want to just chime in on the chat, we're looking for one special person to read our intention. Don't all jump at once now, but we're not gonna stop until someone has volunteered. This is going to be a test if you've figured out where the chat is. Who will read the intention? All right, I'm gonna give it a countdown. If I can't get somebody in the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then I'm gonna have to just.
Lana
Oh,
Hirsch raised hand.
all right, Lana Hirsch. So I'm going to unmute you, Lana. Or maybe you're. Can you hear us? Oh, Lana, are you there? And the intention is going to be on the screen, so you don't have to do much. You just have to look at the screen.
I
see
think I can
Lana.
handle
Who's that?
it. My name is Chaz. I'm Lana's partner.
Oh, fabulous, Chaz. Thank you for being here. Okay, so before each event, we do read this intention to set the space. And so, if everyone would be willing to either close your eyes or just take a deep breath as you listen to the words from our friend Chaz. Chaz, where are you calling in from today?
Ancramdale, New York.
All right. Well, welcome, and we're ready for your reading.
Okay. I don't see anything though.
Oh, can you see the screen?
Oh, okay, got it. Reimagine life, loss, and love intention. There is no life without death, no love without loss. They are in constant complementary motion. In face of distance, illness, racism, and isolation, we are here, together, reimagining a changed world, kinder, slower, more just. We are reimagining the giving and receiving of love, the cycles of loss and new beginnings, and what it means to be fully alive. We are here.
Thank you so much. See, that wasn't so bad, and I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate that. That was really great, and I love your New York accent if that's where it's from.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, I'm very excited to introduce our special guest today. According to an April profile in Fader magazine, comedian Whitmer Thomas's 1-hour music comedy documentary called The Golden One, which debuted this year on HBO, was described as a comedy special delivered from the heart. It was produced with the help from comic Bo Burnham, who I've had the chance of seeing perform before, and he's quite funny himself. It focuses on Whit's challenging, troubled childhood in Alabama that was really then overshadowed by the death of his mother, who was a musician. And in facing that, Whit, who is a comedian, has also created a number of songs that address his experience and experiences, which we're going to have an opportunity to listen to today. Whit has also appeared in The Good Place on NBC, The Walking Dead on AMC, a number of other shows. He's toured with Bo Burnham and appeared in colleges, clubs, and festivals, and been featured as a new face at Just for Laughs in Montreal, and has headlined the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. And honestly, we are so grateful to have him with us today from his, is that your bedroom?
Yep, that's I got a roommate and she's, working, so I don't want to bother.
All right, well, this is really fun. So first of all, I just want to give fair warning to everybody. I think we need to warn people about, this is a comedy hour and there's no holds barred.
Oh yeah, I'm real savage too, as you can probably tell.
Exactly. So truth be told, if there are young children out there who or you want to make sure that you only hear clean language, this might not be the best place for you at this hour.
That's true.
I've heard your music before, and I've seen your special, and HBO does not censor.
Yeah, they don't. They're pretty cool, those guys over at HBO.
So Whit.
Yep.
maybe you can just tell us, um, why do you think you're here?
Oh, probably because I assume, I did a whole comedy special about the sort of surrounding and inspired by the death of my mom a long time ago. My mom drank herself to death when I was, well, really through my whole life, but then it officially hit the death part when I was like 20, so 12 years ago now. So, and then I sort of spun out about that. I didn't properly grieve, and then I found myself playing all these songs and doing stand up, and I was about to be 30, and I just hit a wall because I was sent a video of my mom's band playing in the maybe 1990 when she was about my age, sort of at what looked like her peak. And then I knew what happened afterwards, and I knew that things didn't go really according to plan for her and her career, and that's what sort of sent me into a spiral and inspired my whole comedy special. So, which is definitely struck with grief throughout. It's really me processing. If you watch it, it's like, what the hell is this guy doing?
So maybe you could describe for us before we get into your first song, just where you were uh, before you got that video, and how things were going with your career, and where you are at with your life, and then what changed.
Right after I got that, so where I was really right then is that I had been fired. I've been a comedian out in LA since 2006. I had been fired at that moment. This was about 4 years ago from my agents and everybody. I'd gone to the proper channels as a comedian. People thought, oh, maybe there's some hope for this kid or whatever. And then I'd gotten into my late 20s, which is ancient in Hollywood. And hadn't done anything yet, and everybody fired me, and then or my agents did, my comedy agents, and I was really down, low. And then I saw this video. This guy Ricky, who's a friend of my mom, sent this video to me on Facebook, and it was of him playing guitar with my mom at this packed out venue, and it was just wild, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I really spun out, and I couldn't stop talking about it when I was doing stand-up at shows. And at that same time, I had just recorded an album of sincere music for the first time since I was a teenager. And I was completely embarrassed by what I had done, like what I had made. Being a comedian, thinking things that are too sincere or too vulnerable are kind of whack. And so I leaned into it, though, and just decided I would do jokes, tell my jokes, which some of involved, death and my mom's death, or being a kid who was raised by an alcoholic. And then I would play a song just because I wanted to. And I found that the songs somehow became more comedic if I spent 5 minutes telling jokes about them before I sang them. And that's where people started showing up to my shows, and that's when HBO kind of came calling. Um, and yeah, so it was like through that real massive kind of letdown defeat that I kind of didn't have a choice but to figure out how to make it work. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah,
So
that's where I
maybe,
was.
so you maybe before we go much further, why don't you? I don't know if you want to set up the first song in the way that you would to kind of get us into the groove here.
Sure, yeah. So a lot of these songs I would start out super sincere, just songs that would be about something like suicide or a breakup or anything like that. And then as I started to put them into my stand-up show, I tried to figure out how to sometimes eliminate metaphor so that it became more comedic. When you say something metaphorical, a lot of the times it's more fun. It's funnier just to be blunt about it. So this song originally was about talking to a friend of mine whose brother had committed suicide, and all I really wanted was we were on a date, is the truth, and all I really wanted was for her to like me and to do and say whatever I could think of to try to make sure that she felt like heard and understood. But then I felt like a fool because the truth was like, I really had a crush on her and like, just, yeah, I feel like a buffoon. But I ended up changing it from the original opening line was "Let's talk about suicide," but I changed it to "It hurts to be alive," which I connected more with. So, yeah, this is that song, and usually there's a big band with horns and all that stuff behind me, but I'll try to figure out how to do it without all that stuff. Sort of a spoken word song. So here we go. It fucking hurts to be alive. Oh, the disposable fragility of life. And my identity is my mother died. Anything to distract from being straight and white. But I want to be the perfect mix of everything fucked up you want to fix. And my wokeness is a myth. I'm just so desperate for your love. I just want you to love me. I just want you to love me. And oh, to think of me. I just want you to love me. I just want you to love me. To control how you think of me. And so I'm listing all the qualities that make me seem a little more appealing. No, the future doesn't freak me out. My boundary issues are solved and I'm seeing a therapist. And I'm considering quitting plastics. I've gone pescatarian and I'm curious. And I'm into keeping my body fit. I'm sex positive and mysterious. But am I the perfect mix of everything fucked up you want to fix? And my wokeness now so thick, I'm trudging through it for your love. And I just want you to love me. I just want you to love me. Oh, do you love me? And I just want you to love me. I just want you to love me. To control how you think of me. And I'm standing in the spotlight now, not sure of what to say. Maybe talk about how dating's weird. Something where everyone can agree. Okay. That's that one.
All right, that's how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, okay, big jazz hands for Whit. So, you know, your music and this HBO special that I watched, I mean, how would you describe the emotional tenor of it?
Well, for me, here's what I'll say about it. I went into this with a comedy hour, this comedy, that's what I wanted to do. And then we went back home and I ended up, there's little interstitial parts where we talked to my family members about sort of my life and how things were handled and certain estranged kind of family members. And what we found is that there's not a lot of, it's not often very funny, like talking to some of them. So I think like my dad is really funny or my brother, but there's moments where you can't deny, like, what am I doing here? What am I really exploring here? And what I'm kind of exploring is the legacy that, no matter what, there's some type of legacy and there's some type of romantic kind of, you have this cinematic memory of how someone is and thinking about it and talking to your other family members about this, the way that you remember someone is, you know, interesting to me, and so that's what we tried to do. We tried not to stray too far from that, and yeah, and then there is jokes about like dating or you know, I don't know, dogs or something like that, and throughout. But
Yeah, but I mean, I find it. I mean, it's your music is funny on the one hand, but it's also painful in hearing you express some of the traumas that you had to process and then make light of them. Maybe just for some backdrop, you can share with us. I mean, what really struck me, one thing was just your memory of your abduction.
right, yeah, I was sort of, there was an attempt to kidnap me when I was 3 years old. Um, a man broke into my house who was, yeah, and he tried to take me, and then my dad intercepted, and it ended up that this man had been stealing my things from around my house and photos of me and stuff like that since I was born. I was 3 years old when this happened, and he was arrested, and he had a history of kidnapping and other bad stuff, and so yeah, it was really close. But that's what I opened. That's the first joke I tell, and you know, I don't want to give it away. Maybe some people here will watch it, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I just found when I started doing stand-up that if I told like a story like that, but I somehow told it in my cadence, people would just start laughing, or they would go, "Is this guy serious?" And I thought, well, hell, I'm not very good at impressions, so maybe I could do that. Just tell real story.
So, I mean, and how old were you when that was? That you were 3 maybe, or was that
Yeah,
how
I
old
was
were?
3.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're 3 years old and you were in the story that I remember, I watched the movie a few weeks ago now. That your dad kind of intercepted you and then uh, was able to take you back when he saw you being carried off literally by this other man, this
Yeah.
and was able to bring you back home, and then from there on, I mean, there's just a lot of challenging moments in childhood, but yet also filled with music and as well. So maybe you can share with us just a little bit about your background in Alabama and what it was like growing up as a kid.
Sure, yeah. I grew up in a place called Gulf Shores, Alabama, which is down in the Gulf of Mexico. My mom was a musician who played as the house band at a bunch of local bars, mostly this one bar called the Floribama Lounge, which is like a popular bar down there. And I grew up sort of in the shadow of my older brother, who was like one of the more popular guys on the island. He was a really good surfer, and his band was really popular. And because of that, I got away with doing kind of whatever I wanted. Like, nobody would pick on me too hard because they knew that I was Johnny's little brother. He sort of has like a Johnny Utah-like quality, my older brother. And so, yeah, I grew up in Alabama skateboarding, and I was obsessed with punk music and, you know, very anti whatever the Alabama political sphere was, you know, always. And I always felt like an outcast, but I was lucky to have my older brother. And at the same time, where I'm from, it was just nothing but a bunch of black sheeps from all over the South who moved there to kind of get away from their overbearing parents. So it was kind of an interesting upbringing. And on top of that, you know, it was like very public. My mom's kind of struggles. She was like publicly on stage down there, publicly kind of drunkenly forgetting her chords and lyrics. And so there was also that. It was like cool older brother, messed up mom, and skater guy who was, yeah. And then luckily my dad kind of returned into my life. He had left when I was a kid and when I was in high school, and kind of gave me a consistent few years of childhood before I moved off to LA, ran away to LA when I was 18.
So, you know, with your mom, I mean, what was that like then for you when going to these shows? Were you able to? I guess you were able to see some of her shows playing music, but then these moments when she would forget these lyrics, and just what was your relationship like with her during this period also the fact that you played music and she was a musician. I mean, what was your relationship like with your mom?
When it came to all that, her drinking and drugs and stuff, she was that was embarrassing. It was very hard. It was embarrassing. My mom was in trouble with the law too because of all that stuff, and it was hard. It was, it was. I just stopped being able to believe that there was a life where that didn't really exist, and I knew never to get my hopes up. And yeah, as far as my mom's um, issues went, I knew that it had happened so many times. I think my mom had been to rehab 12 times by the time she died. And so I had seen my mom kind of taken away from me and by the cops or by, you know, EMTs or by other family members, by strange dudes, so many times that I didn't really have too much hope. But I was lucky to have music, and that was the recurring kind of glue. That was the glue between me and my mom that made us kind of, we always vibed on that, like if I had a new song, my mom always wanted to hear it, and she would always show me her songs. And it was really strange to grow up in a house where if my mom was going through a breakup, I would hear her banging on the piano all through the night, kind of writing a song about some guy named Jeff. But that's just how I grew up, so um, looking back, like, I felt a lot of guilt when my mom died. Like maybe I should have been more stern on her. Maybe I should have like really put my foot down and said, don't stop this. But the reality is that I did. It just, I was so calloused with all that stuff. By the time I turned 18 and was able to move away, I was so calloused. Like nothing shocked me. My friends would always be like, "Why don't you seem excited when stuff would happen?" And I think looking back, that's probably why. It's like I just never really saw like things working out, like consistently, like staying one way. There was no consistency, no control.
So maybe you can introduce the next song in lieu of what we're just sharing right now.
Sure, this song is called The Golden One. It inspired the title of my comedy special, which The Golden One is something that my mom would always call me. It's the last thing my mom ever said to me, other than like some other random words that don't really make any sense. My mom called me the Golden One or the Golden Child or her Golden Son. And she always believed that I would do okay, in my career, and even when I was a teenager, she really believed in me. And this is the song that sort of started my journey into playing comedy music live. I wrote this song first, and I started writing it a couple years after my mom died, and then I finished writing it when I was 30 years old. So like 8 years, I think, is how long it took me to write it. And it's just a bunch of lyrics, but the idea of it is that I have a bunch of terrible qualities because I'm my mother's son. So yeah, so that's it. And it's another long one. Imagine a full cool band behind me with interesting lead guitars and synthesizers.
We'll all reimagine that. That's what we're good at here.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Thanks.
Here we go. This is a song called The Golden One. Let me just make sure my guitar's in tune, sorry.
Are you one of those musicians that can tune and talk at the same time?
Oh, maybe I could do that. I thought you were going to say tune by ear.
Oh no, tune and talk. It's a challenging.
Wow, how does this happen?
See that?
Wow, okay. All right. Okay, here we go. The Golden One. Well, I'm 30 right now, but when I wrote this riff, I was 22. It don't feel different. I'm no more articulate than I was then. So fuck writing these words, man. What's the point? if some business guys will just case the joint and scoop me back up into my miserable dreams. My naivete, man, it never fails. Tosses me an interaction and watches me flail against the wind. How can this end without me seeming unlikable? I'm the captain of so many sinking ships. My favorite songs have started to skip. And when I sing, it feels more like talking now. Was this ever a comedy? I wanna be irreverent and silly. So I wipe away the steam and look at me. I'm just no fun, my mother's son. It's like a golden star for every piece of my heart that flounders on the ground waiting for a respark all over again with a new girlfriend or some new stupid fucking joke. I can't keep the plants alive, man, in my place. My 99 Camrys held together with tape, and that's okay. It still runs great. It truly does. And I hate getting real, man, but I want to cry every time I see a mom who's still alive or a dad who smiles at his baby boy. And I'm too proud to admit that I'm full of shit when I talk about politics or music that isn't some Blink-182 record. So I guess I'm a Philistine, man. I had to look that up so I could write it down just right fucking now. I did not go to college. I've never been to Europe. And my favorite film's The Dark Knight. Alright, holy little beams, they all shot out of the seams. I felt alive with my dreams, and so dead to the fiends. I am the sum, my mother's son. Watched the life leave my mother's face. Decided right then to leave that place and never turn back, because fuck it all. And oh mother, what can I do? You've given me no choice but to be better than you. Just wish you were here to ask questions too. Like, why do I feel the need to always cut a fucking rug? And why do I fucking know when someone gives me a fucking hug? And do they want me here? Do they need me here? So what can I offer but a little less space? Little room on the east side of Los Angeles. How bleak can I be? How bleak can I be? Well, I can dance and I can sing and I can tell jokes. Don't get me telling stories about my parents shooting dope. I'm no good at barely being anywhere. Alright, I said youth feels incomplete. Still got grass stains on my jeans. And I'm fucked, or so it seems. I am deemed the golden one, my mother's son. Then there's a cool guitar solo, and then the song ends. But my big brother plays the guitar solo.
Exactly. It was really neat in the video that your brother was able to join you on stage. And if you, I mean, not to give away the film, but then Whit gets to play at the place that his mom, you know, where she worked all those years. And then his brother joins him on stage and they get to play together. And it's really sweet. And I think Janet Steinberg, one of the guests today, she wrote in the chat, Whit, your honesty is what is moving and ... funny.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Janet. Yeah, dude. Well, speaking of that, Janet, I've tried really hard. I am so not mysterious like, speaking of the honest thing, is like, if I tell my close friends or my girlfriend or something, like, I'm mysterious, they'll just laugh. If I go on stage and go, so I'm sort of a mysterious guy, it will get a laugh as if I'm telling a joke, because people know that there's nothing but like, right, what you see is what you get with me.
Well, that's refreshing. Is
I wish I could be cool and mysterious.
does your girlfriend, does she like your comedy or your music better? Or does she see them as the same? You mean your stand up
I
or
think
your,
she sees them equally.
does she like both of them?
I think so.
That's nice.
I'm never gonna ask. I've been down that road with ex-girlfriends.
It's the same.
I've dated plenty of girls who hated my both, so I think I don't even need to know with her as long as we're having fun together. We've been together for a while, so that's all that matters. I've never. She'll laugh at stuff I do, so that means maybe she likes it.
Do you test out material on her? How do you test out your songs and your jokes?
On her, I'll ask her if the premise is funny, and um, but usually with both, I need a live audience to really know if it's hitting, which is can't really do right now. So who knows? This next bunch of songs I write, I think they'll probably be less funny and more just real songs with some little jokes in here and there.
So, yeah, I mean that song, you were there when your mom died, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's what and she said that to you, I guess. That was the last thing, like you're saying, that she told you by the side of her bed. Was she in hospice, or how did, I mean, it
Yeah,
was
she was in hospice at her house. The way it went is my mom was given a certain time frame to live, but she felt embarrassed by it, so she didn't tell me and my brother. And then one day we got a phone. We were in California. My brother moved out here too for a little bit, and we were in California, and we got a phone call saying, "Hey, your mom's about to die," from one of my mom's close friends. You need to come down. And so we went back down. She was gone. It was just a few days, and she embarrassed. She knew kind of what we had gone through dealing with this. There were so many different times in my childhood where I thought my mom had tried to kick whatever, alcohol or whatever, and would have a seizure, and I'd think she died, or So this, I think she felt ashamed and just like she didn't want. But yeah, she was in hospice at her house. Yeah, and the last thing, I mean, she said some other random words and stuff, but really the last thing I remember her saying is, "You're the golden one," and it was awkward because my brother was standing next to her.
So, I guess you had already started pursuing your comedy career by that point if you were in LA.
Yeah, I just was sort of, yeah.
So growing up, tell us about you and how you got into comedy, or were you always funny growing up, or how did you decide you wanted to be a comedian? And um,
Yeah, I had funniest kid. My friends were always way funnier than I was. I definitely wasn't like class clown or anything. I was mostly just like this kid who was just so heartbroken all the time, writing in his playing little sad songs and stuff. And then I and had moved out. Can y'all see me? Okay, it says my connection's unstable. And then I moved to LA to be an actor and a writer. And what ended up happening was I found myself in improv classes, just fun. I was a fan of going to comedy shows and stuff. And then I hosted a kind of like a sketch night with my friends. And then hosting that, I started doing stand up doing that. And so it was sort of like I was doing comedy, but it wasn't doing stand up until after my mom died. And a lot of the reason I started sketch night was because when my mom died, she left me some money, and she said in her letter not to spend it on rent. So I did spend it on rent. I rented her, but I think that doesn't count for what she meant. I rented this theater and hosted this sketch night called Power Violence with my friends, and that's where I started doing stand up, and that's really where I kind of was able to develop a career as a comedian.
So do you feel like you, given that you've written songs about your mom, and even from this story that you're telling us now about the money that she sent you, and do you feel that your career and your work is in some way in memory of your mom, or is honoring her, or how do you think about grief and art?
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. It's like everything I do is for her, you know? It's truly the first thing I think about anytime something cool happens in my career. I have any sort of creative thought is I wish I could call her to tell her about it. It's not worth even trying to shake it. I mean, I spent the entire time I was raised, and this is who I was raised by and what I was dealing with, and I can't shake it. I didn't have people to answer my questions or any sort of consistent space as a kid. So like nothing that I'm ever going to make, no art I'll ever make is going to reflect anything other than my relationship with my mom or my dad or my brother. I thought and tried really hard, especially since my comedy special came out, like how do I do something next that isn't about this kind of stuff? And that's who I am, and I'm not ever going to try to shake it. Yeah, so everything I do, like sometimes I think, well, it's kind of a bummer that I put For My Mom at the end of my comedy special because I wish I could put that at the end of everything, but I'm not going to. But there's plenty of yeah, I don't know. I do like to imagine her now seeing, what I've been able to, this little I've been able to accomplish in the grand scheme of things, and how she, I know, would find absolute peace. Like if she was able to just like appear for in life and be alive again and look at, okay, how's everybody doing? Oh, to a farm, and he lives with his family on a farm. Oh my God, he has a family. He's like, and then Wit is, what? He has a career. His face is on a billboard. I'm good. All right, I'm out. you know, I'm positive that that's how she would feel. She'd probably celebrate with a drink and then die again.
I mean, she probably knows right now, I mean, who really knows? But I have a strong sense that there's some cosmic connection, and that it's just amazing how she wanted to be a musician, and here you are. Only because of her did your music ever get incorporated into your comedy. And it's so hard. I know, as someone who tried to be a professional musician myself for a number of years, just how hard it is to get to the place that you've gotten to in your career. And I know it's sometimes from the outside, it's way more glamorous than it feels. You get a comedy special like on HBO, and it's like, wow, I mean, it's really a pinnacle for a comedian in so many ways, is to have an hour-long special on HBO. But it doesn't. The world keeps going. You got to just keep doing your next thing.
Definitely.
But it's so impressive, honestly, and I think it's well deserved when you follow your heart like that and put yourself out there. I mean, we have this comment from Amy here, and she said she just wanted to say, as a young adult moving through life processing the loss of a parent, your comedy really resonates, and comedy helps her, or I'll use your language, Amy, comedy helps me process my own grief, and it makes me feel less alone to watch another young person use comedy to process theirs. So thank you.
Hey, thank you, Amy. That's really nice.
And I'm wondering, with your special out there now, and do you find that you're getting this type of feedback from people that are finding comfort? What is your relationship with your audience?
I don't know, because the pandemic happened right when special came out, right after. So all I get is stuff like what Amy just said, some messages like that, and those are the best. Like I read all of those and try to respond. That's all I got so far. I'll know when the pandemic is over and I go start doing shows again, you know, how if I even have an audience, because I didn't really have an audience before my special. So I think all the people who are connecting with it, it's not for everybody. Not a lot of people have never experienced death in their life. It's crazy. I go to do shows in some places, and people think it's so sad. Even if I mention that my parents got a divorce when I was a kid, they're like, "Oh my God, what life did you grow? Like, where did you grow up? Like, so for everybody, but the people who it is for, I think are really connecting with it. All I could ever hope for, it is just, I know that when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, when I was 20, if I had seen a young comedian talking about losing a parent, and I feel like I would have found some sort of solace and in that. So that's all I can hope. We'll find out though when I can tour again.
Well, we'll all be pulling for you. I can tell that we have some more fans here in the Reimagine network already. And so we're getting a question from Janet, and I think it's a good one. What is your dream scenario in the next year or two, or career, your long-term career? Like where will we see you next in your dream scenario?
Next year or two, I really want to tour properly. Like hopefully now there's a little bit of incentive. So whenever that happens again, I'd like to do that. I'd like to continue to release out the album having to be some larger thematic album, like the songs from the Golden One album. Just music of random songs like a normal album would be. Some funny, some not, And really what I'm working on I found all my mom's tapes, all of her albums, all the way back to 1975 in her band. Her band was called Sin Twister. She plays with her sister. Yeah, so they'd been.
I don't think they get it.
What was that?
I don't know if they get it.
Sin Twister?
Yeah, it's deep.
Yeah, really deep. Great name. So, yeah, they had been playing together professionally since 1975, and I know that because I found a tub of recordings that I was told were destroyed by Hurricane Katrina. And on them, they're all studio recordings dating back to 1975. And it was a trip, to hear my mom at 20 years old in Boulder, Colorado with a tape machine playing in front of an audience. My mom would always tell me stories like, oh, we played with Steve Martin before he was famous. He played banjo in Colorado. And then I'm listening to a tape of her in Colorado thinking, like, is that the night Steve Martin was there? I'd never heard any of this. But the cool thing about that is I found all of the isolated studio recordings. So I was able to put together a full album of her music, which is really, really good. It's not even just good because it's charming. I think the songs are really good. And then an EP, too. So it's 16 songs. So right now I'm trying to find somebody to help me. I've found somebody to help me figure out how to find like a reissue label or something like that, because these songs were never properly released. So yeah, hopefully a label will be interested, and that's what I'm spending most of this time during the pandemic on.
That's so cool. So you're working to bring Sin Twister back to consciousness.
Yeah. Consciousness. At all. They never made it, man. Like, I mean, my aunt mentioned in the special that they were offered a deal with Virgin Records, but they turned it down because their manager said it was not a deal, and then that A&R guy went on to sign Madonna. So I think they should have probably gone with that.
And there's another question here from Janet. Have you ever played music? Did you ever play music with your mom?
I would. Well, not really. I mean, in our house, yeah, we would play together all the time. Live, though, I was too young. My older brother would play all the time with her. My mom would, like I was in a metal emo band, and my mom would like come to our rehearsal and start playing flute and stuff. Or live, only my brother ever did, and that was really cool to watch.
And then I guess the follow-up there is with the tapes. Have you played any of her songs? Do you know how to play her music now?
I know one very well called "He's Hot," which is I think their single. Um, it's on my cover of it on my album, which is sort of like a last, it was like a last edition, late edition. And you can listen to He's Hot. I uploaded it. I mixed it and uploaded it onto YouTube, so you can. Or if you just look my YouTube up or type in Sin Twister, He's Hot, SYN Twister, He's Hot, you'll find it and you can hear it. It's legit good.
It is legit good. And I want to, as you're talking, I want to make sure people know how to follow you before we get to your final song. Check, I mean, he prefers that we call him Whit, but his Instagram is at Whitmer Thomas. So
Just Whit. I just say Whit. Sometimes they have panic about how to pronounce my name, but either way is fine.
So yeah, you can find him on Spotify. But I really suggest you check out the film because you get so much background and it's really just a beautiful. If you like, I mean, some of the story he was sharing today, you get to see him talk to his dad and his mom's twin sister and reunite. And there's just some really poignant, powerful stories and it's more of your stand up. It's just a really powerful hour. I want to also let everyone know that next week at this time, we're going to be back with Adia Victoria, who's another incredible musician. She's also from the South. And as an African-American woman in the South, she has really reinterpreted the blues and uses it as a vehicle to talk about some of the things she's faced growing up there and some of the racial injustice. And highly recommend that you tune in next Wednesday for her incredible music. I want to also let everyone know that, again, if you have someone that you know that is sick or near death or has died and they're trying to figure out how to put together a memorial service, given that we can't be together in person, you can check out virtualmemorialguide.org, which Reimagine created to help people in those circumstances find low cost or free resources to make that possible. And of course, you can support Reimagine at letsreimagine.org/support, or just simply respond by making your own creative expression. Because I think, as Whit's sharing with us today, being able to harness that creative energy, and you can really make. I mean, what is the purpose of life anyway, if not to hold that love in our hearts for the people that matter most to us? And so, later on in this series of, and I know Whit, our friend Chris Garcia, another comedian in Los Angeles, who's going to be joining us in a couple episodes, and he's a friend of ours. His life, I mean, similarly, it's really his life has shifted since the death of his own father, trying to learn stories about his dad and trying to take his ashes and have them put back in Cuba. And it's just this idea that when we're trying to find meaning in our lives and have a purpose, if you can really follow that thing like you're doing, it's not only led to your own, it seems like, to your own happiness or a better state of life, but it's created a career and a focus and a purpose.
Yeah. You got to lean into this stuff,
Yeah, so maybe you can lean in with us and set up a final song for us today. I heard this is a new one.
Sure, yeah, this is a new song, and it's something I wrote during quarantine, and I don't really necessarily know what it was about. It's mostly just me asking questions about if I'm doing okay. I don't know, and I might not remember the lyrics, so sorry if I have to kind of flub and start over again with the line. But yeah, here you go. I don't know necessarily what to call it now either, but I'm just gonna call it Jokes to Tell. Here we go. That's not right. maybe it is. Okay. One more check.
No pressure.
My God, that's got to be it. Why sounds out of tune? I think my guitar's out of tune again. That's what's going on. Sorry, guys. Here we go.
No worries. No, I didn't know if we should interrupt you because it could be part of your joke. You never know.
I wish that I was that Andy Kaufman-esque. Oh, that's what it is. It's this dang B string. Okay. Yeah, that's it. All right.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
Does my lover love me like I love them? I cry a river and go for a swim. I eat fast food when I feel sad and think of everyone I know who's died, Everyone I know who's died. Do the things that I do still come off as cute? If I say what I want, will it seem rude? Cause I feel so zonked and I can't stand still. Got bait in a bucket but nothing to kill, There's nothing to kill. I got no stories left in my back pocket, cause I've mined my youth and exhausted it, and my writing's gotten stiff like my kid limbs. Maybe I settle down and have a couple of kids, 2 kids. Yeah, that'll do the trick. And I try so hard not to complain, so I look at my phone and say nothing. I wanna cheer you up if you ain't feeling swell. I've got a little book to tell, some jokes to tell, some jokes to tell. All right, la 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 la. I'm too punctual to ever feel this guy at the spot. I'm such a fool. Do I love my lover like me? If I'm always there, will it keep boring, boring, boring? I don't wanna be boring. And I'm good at some things, my body's out of whack. I wanna lift you up, but I throw out my back. I say, ow, I feel so alone, cause I'm a one-trick pony and I ain't got a home. No home, no home, no home. So I cry, cry, cry when I'm in my car, and the beat, beat, beat hard, and pump, pump, pump the brakes on this dance. If you really would you give me a chance, a chance, a chance, give me a chance to sit down, lift you up when you ain't feeling swell. So I got a little jokes to tell. I wanna lift you up when you ain't feeling swell. So I got a little book of jokes to tell, some jokes to tell, some jokes to tell. All right, la da 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 da.
Yay. That's a nice one. I mean, obviously it's new, so we hadn't heard that. That's really a sweet song.
Thank you.
It seems to capture your essence in a really sweet way.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much for everyone who attended today. Follow Whit. Keep being honest Whit, thank you for being so vulnerable through your music and so funny by just being yourself. I don't know. I guess I mean, maybe there's more than meets the eye, but it feels like you said, you're just being yourself, and it's nice.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And we look forward to staying in touch. So
Thank
everyone, you all have a great week. And if you want to share your gratitude for Whit in the chat, feel free. We can hop off. Yeah, disarming and charming and real. That's a good line. Disarming and charming. You can write that down.
Disarming, charming, and real. Disarming, charming, and real.
All right. Yeah, we got some more chats. Thank you, everybody, again, for being here. If you want to hop off mute and just say bye, feel free just to hear your voices. I'm always a big fan of just a little
Bye, everybody.
more voices out there. Where do we get you guys? How do we unmute y'all? You can unmute yourself. Did Whit just leave? Ah. Bye, Whit.
Hey, thanks, Whit.
Thanks, Whit.
I think Whit's gone. It's just us. Thank you guys.
Nope.
Thanks, Brad.
All right. Have a great week, everyone. I'll see you soon for a dose of togetherness.
Thank you.
And for we have a musical
Thank
visual coming
you.
up. Thank you guys. Have a good one. And good